Hello, 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 and welcome to the Get Your Guide Coaching Podcast. I'm really happy. My girl Les Alfred is here from She's So Lucky, this amazing, amazing podcast. Many of you probably listen to it on a regular, and if you don't, you definitely should. And I brought her on because one, I love her podcast, and I was on it last year, I think maybe,
Yeah, last year.
when
Yep.
it was different, actually. It was called Balance Black Girl. Maybe some people might be familiar with that name, but I think you and I have been seeing so many interesting things happening in the world and in life, and I thought it would be a really great opportunity to kind of bring you on. So, Les, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Anwar, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I loved having you on my show, so I'm really happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're here too, girl. We get to get into it. But, I
Yes,
think you did a major rebrand, right? You
I
had this
did.
podcast called Balance Black Girl, and maybe we're
Mhm.
not balanced anymore, but then we kind of like shifted over to She's So Lucky. So I want to get an understanding of like why we made that shift and that rebrand.
Definitely. It was one of those things that was kind of a long time coming. So I started Balance Black Girl back in 2018. And at the time, I was very deep in my wellness girl bag. I had spent my 20s as a personal trainer and a fitness instructor and just loving all of these healthy things. And I loved listening to other wellness podcasts. And I noticed that a lot of other wellness podcasts at that time were very male. They were very male, they were very white. And I was having a hard time really connecting with any wellness content that felt like it was for me and from voices that I felt like really represented me and understood what I was looking for in my pursuit of wellness. And so I started Balance Black Girl under that premise. And it was so beautiful. I had an amazing community that rallied around it, and I was interviewing these amazing Black and Brown women experts around all these different health topics. And after several years of that, I noticed that I started wanting to shift outside of wellness conversations. And I wanted to start talking about other things that impacted how we felt that weren't necessarily traditional wellness. It was like, how many probiotics can I tell the girls to take? And so a few years ago, I started expanding into other topics and we
Yeah, but
started
can we talk about
talking.
that a little bit? Because I think that
Yeah,
that is the case for so many individuals, people who are creators or in this media space, that like you talk about something for a while, and because there's so many videos on so many things, almost you get sick of it. You're like, if I talk about another probiotic, as you said, for me,
yes,
it's like I talk about how this guy's not doing what he's supposed to do. It's like it's almost boring at this point. Is that
it
where you were feeling a little
is.
bit?
That is totally how I felt. It was like, if after 200 episodes I have not inspired you to journal yet, I don't know what I can say to get you to do it.
Girl,
Like,
you're never gonna do it.
exactly.
Yeah,
Um, and
that's
so I
funny.
got really excited to start diving into other topics. And so we started talking about things like money
Mm.
and relationships and business and friendships. And I noticed that I started getting excited expanding into other topics, but my audience responded really well to that too. And so for a few years, the show was still Balanced Black Girl, but we started kind of expanding into other topics that were broader than the initial wellness concept. And so last year, I decided to rebrand it to really make the packaging of the show better match what the show had become.
The show and maybe you too, right? I mean, I think
Hmm.
we're always
Yeah.
evolving, right? And
Yep.
so, like, let's talk a little bit about your evolution. So, at one point you were balanced, and now you're so lucky. Let's talk a little bit about
Yes.
that. What does that evolution look like?
Oh my gosh, the evolution has been crazy. When I first started the show, I was 28 or 29. I think I just turned 29. I was still living in Seattle, which was my hometown. I was working in corporate. I had just gone through a really bad breakup, and I was just going through a lot in my personal life and my career and just feeling really lost. And I think at that time, also why creating Balanced Black Girl was so important to me was because I was just looking for grounding. I was trying to find my footing.
Yeah.
And so I created that platform to also help me do it. And over the course of the last 6 or 7 years, so much in my life has changed. I left my hometown and I've moved to bigger cities and I've gotten amazing opportunities and I work for myself full time as an entrepreneur now. And I'm in a space where I'm not necessarily looking for my footing because I think as I've gotten older, I've been able to kind of find it wherever I go. But now I'm ready to receive more and I'm open to receiving more and creating a life that is ready to receive more. And it's been interesting to witness my own growth and to bring my community with me.
Yeah.
But it's also been really I think it's been a good proof of what's possible to other people if they're in a space where maybe they feel stuck. I think a lot of people, particularly in their late 20s, it's like such a turbulent time. You don't know what's on the other side of it. I definitely want to give people hope that there is something on the other side of it, and that if you don't like where you are, you can create something new for yourself.
Yeah. I always think of rebranding as a bit scary, and maybe some of the listeners feel the same way. How are you able to maybe overcome a bit of the, well, people know me as this, but I'm like, evolving into something different. Are they going to accept me? Are they not? Like, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are kind of having those thoughts and opinions. And how are you able to navigate that? And what would you say to women that are also in their rebranding era that also need to kind of continue down the path?
That uncertainty is so understandable. I was terrified of making this change and having it be so public and evolving so publicly out loud. But then I also remembered like everything is made up. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
Everything that we do is completely made up. So many of the things that we hold ourselves to, whether it's like a deadline for something or what we think we should do or where we should be, so many of those things are made up. And I think I knew that I didn't want to continue doing something that I felt like I had outgrown. I want to create things that really grow with me. And I thought, if I maybe lose a little bit of footing in what I built, I have confidence that I can build it back up again. But I just felt really convicted by the idea and the new direction and confident that I was going to land on my feet either way.
I love that. What I'm hearing is I'm going to be all right,
Hmm.
regardless of what happens, which I think is an
Yep.
important reminder. And I would say, just like, especially for women of color, right? Oftentimes it feels like there's no safety net, that like you are your safety net, that like you're going to be fine regardless of like whatever happens with your own evolution and rebrand. I will tell you that like I probably made a decision almost a year ago that like I'm kind of like done with TikTok. It's like a lot. It's too much. It's not for me anymore, and that was scary, right? It's almost a rebrand of such. And so like I hear you with the rebrand, especially as like someone that's kind of in media and content and things like that. But regardless of whether it's professional or personal, I feel like you have to be true with who you are today. And if you're not, then you're really truly in not in alignment.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I feel like when you build a really meaningful community like you have, people will follow you wherever you go. You know what I mean? Like the people that are really there for you and that really want to support what it is you're doing, they're going to support that, whether it has a new name, whether it's focusing on a different platform or a different medium. I truly think that what we're meant to do will reach who it's meant to reach.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I was talking a little bit about how I feel like social media and the internets are a little crazy. I mean, I know for me personally, and you can let me know if this is your truth as well. Like, I would post something and like it would be pretty positive, and maybe it's just the nature of dating, and people are maybe a bit more pessimistic about it. But now it's like most of the comments are negative. Have you noticed that, whether online or offline, that there's just a different level of cynicism and maybe even negativity out there?
There is. And I think so much of it comes from, I mean, obviously, right now, and especially for us in the States, it's like wild out here. There's so much uncertainty, there's so much unrest, there's so much injustice, there's so much happening that we feel we don't have any control over. And so I think sometimes it causes us, just as people collectively, to be a little bit nastier to one another. We don't necessarily have direct access to the people who are like making all of these decisions that are making life a lot more challenging for us. But an everyday
Mhm.
person who pops up on TikTok, you can kind of talk crazy in their comment section and get all your frustration out, even if it doesn't apply, with little to no consequence, and feel like
Yeah.
you're just getting it out somewhere. And I think we're seeing that it's really started during the pandemic, but it's getting increasingly worse.
Yeah. I felt like these last 2 years, like end of 2023, early 2024, it felt like something has really changed here. I don't know. I think definitely the pandemic was like an inflection point for sure. I just feel like it's so extreme now. Um, how do you stay optimistic? How do you stay, outside of the negativity and the pessimism that's out there? Or maybe you don't. And that's
Yeah,
okay
I
too.
don't always. Yeah, I don't always. I think I generally do from the disposition of even if somebody says something nasty to me or I get a weird comment or something, I mean, those things still aren't fun to receive, but it doesn't really impact how I feel about myself. And maybe that's just an age thing. I feel like once you get to a certain, age and you feel a little bit more rooted in who you are, it's harder to shake that. Also, just because I feel like I've been on the internet for so long and it's a part of my job,
Mhm.
I have a little bit of disconnects. I'm like, this person doesn't actually know me. They might see a piece of what I'm putting out there or a piece of my work, but that's not actually like me at my core, who I am as a person. And the people who genuinely know me would never come to that conclusion or speak to me that way. And so I think just having a good perception of what's real and what's not, really prioritizing the people in my life who know me and pour into me, and then also just a good amount of like knowing when to log off and touch grass keeps me centered.
Yeah. Well, I know on Saturday mornings, I get a reminder from my iPhone that on a daily basis, I've been on my phone for, I don't even want to say how many hours per day, but that's always a reminder to, like, to your point, touch grass and um, live life. And that's really what I've been
Hmm.
trying to do over the past year. I'm so glad that
Yes.
we're having this conversation because I really do think that, like, last year and this year, I really want the ladies out there to think about their own rebrand, right? And what they're about for 2026. Beyond just like your word for the year or your statement for the year, who are you going to be in 2026 and beyond? Have you thought about that at all? And if so, like, what have you determined for yourself?
Ooh, I love this question. I like to think of everything in seasons. And sometimes those seasons can correlate with like the actual seasons. And then sometimes those seasons can just be I'm working towards a goal that I'm very focused on. And that season will be however long it takes for me to reach that goal. And then once I reach it, I kind of focus on something else, or I have a little bit of downtime, or, whatever my priority is at that moment will kind of shift. And 2026 for me is really a year that I'm focusing on professional growth. I think the past few years, I was really focusing on my own personal growth, and I was doing a lot there in terms of I've spent about 2 years in therapy working on a lot of stuff from, childhood and family and all of that, really understanding who I am and why I react to certain things the way I do and all of that. And that was incredibly helpful. I was in a new city. I was really finding my footing and I really was focusing on my own personal growth. Tried to have, a little bit of a physical glow up here and there.
I know that's right.
Did the things, did the Invisalign, did the stuff just to kind of polish myself a little bit more. And now that I feel like I've gotten into a good spot there, now I'm really focused on professional growth and saying, okay, I've increased my tolerance for what I can do and what I know I want and what I know I deserve and being ready to go out into the forefront. And so 2026, at least the first half of the year, I'll kind of reevaluate once we get to H2. For me is really about professional growth. So I am pretty heavily focusing on work right now, really focusing on making sure She's So Lucky is reaching all of the people that I think it can help, because
Yeah,
I do think the show really helps people live better lives and I want it to grow because I want it to help more people. And so I'm really in a little bit of a girl boss era right
I
now.
love it. I love it. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I am. So the second half of last year, and then the first half of this year, I'm dadding very hard. So so for the ladies out there that feel like, oh my God, I have to like drive hard for professional, like you can also like maintain professionally and drive hard personally as well. So Les, you're doing the professional, I'm doing the more personal thing. So I am in a process of getting my kids into the boarding schools and the process of all that. And so it requires helping them studying for SSAT, making sure that their extracurriculars are good, and like just dadding really hard, right? And then the second half of this is all about launching my book, right? And doing all the PR and marketing and traveling and tours and things like that. So to your point about seasons, I love it. And, I think that sometimes people think of things in quarters, but I try to think of them in at least like half year time frames because life is really stressful as is. And so like trying to like make something happen in a quarter can bring so much more stress for you. And so I'm interested and we'll have to connect after this podcast to see exactly what your second half of 2026 is going to look like.
I'm excited to see too. I feel like we might like switch and like flip flop a little bit.
Yeah, but I think it's important, right? I think that if
Mhm.
like you're going hard on like one specific thing for so long, it's only a matter of time before you might get a little bit burnt out, or at least that's what I've experienced and felt. So
Yep.
you've said something that I think is really interesting, all about kind of creating your own luck. Yeah, and really you believe that. I think that's part of like the foundation of your podcast. It's a pretty bold statement, right? Can you talk to me a little bit about like what that means and how that might be different than some of these toxic positivity girlies out here where everything
Most
is Pollyanna?
definitely. Yes, where everything is I know, drives me a little bit crazy.
Uh-huh.
Um, I for a very long time, actually, I would say most of my adult life, have been really fascinated by how successful women move and work. And so studying successful women is something that has always been very fascinating to me. And it's a big part of what I do on my podcast. I mean, I interview incredible, everybody's fave has probably been on my show at some point or will be soon. And getting to hear these women's stories and how they get to where they are has been incredibly fascinating. But as I kind of study successful women, hear their stories, learn many things, I picked up on a few things that were in common. One, the perception of a lot of successful women is that there's something outside of them that decided that they were going to have what they have and that it was just handed to them. And a
Hmm.
lot of people tend to attribute women's success to other things, to, oh, well, she just married well, or she just had someone give her this, or someone just gave her that. And sometimes those things are true, but I actually think oftentimes that's a part of the strategy. Like, let's use the example of marrying well, for example, because I hear a lot of, people will try to discount a woman who they think that that applies to as if it's like, oh, this was just handed to her. No, she probably was strategic about that. That's on purpose. Like, and I'm not mad at it. I like it. I'm like, hey, if you know how to position yourself well and align yourself with the right people who are there to like help you attain a life that you want, I'm all for it. I don't see how that's any different than any other strategic thing that you could do. And
Yeah.
so instead of seeing these women as like, oh, they're lucky in the sense of something was handed to them, the more that I was interviewing them, hearing their stories, they were incredibly strategic about their luck, whether it was through the work that they were doing, the relationships that they cultivated, the habits that they built, the work that they were doing beneath the surface for many years before anybody knew who they were. Luck was not something that was happening on accident for these women. There was always so much intentionality and movement behind it until they had that moment where we, knew them for whatever it is we knew them for. And so this idea of like she's so lucky was kind of tongue in cheek, where people
Mhm.
often use the word luck as an
Yeah.
insult. Or to downplay a woman's accomplishments. And I'm saying, yeah, there's actually a lot of work and intentionality behind that luck. And let's learn from them so that we can apply that to our own lives.
I love that. As you've been interviewing so many amazing, successful women, let's talk about like some patterns that you may have seen, right? And maybe they're specific, like maybe there's a certain luck in relationships and a different kind of luck professionally, and then a different kind of luck more personally with family and friends. Like, what sort of patterns have you seen? I'm curious about, like, for example, we were talking a little bit about marrying well, right? That sometimes I know for in my industry, the women that are marry well, oftentimes are focused on themselves, don't really care about men, and their number one goal is fun. Like really intense women, right? That are like, no, I want to get married, but I'm gonna have fun like every step of the way, and like
Yep.
that's going to be the thing. But have you seen, maybe starting with relationships, and then we can get to the other like areas of life, like other patterns, other luck
Yeah,
patterns?
for sure. I would say from a relationship standpoint, not even necessarily a romantic relationship standpoint, but let's say I feel like we all know those people who are so well connected, where you go anywhere with them and they know several people, they're going to get you into this event or this place or whatever. It's like people are opening doors for them left and right. That's usually not by accident. It's usually because those people are really, really good at maintaining community. Those people are really good at maintaining relationships. All those people who will like open a door for them or let them into whatever or help them get into whatever, they've also probably helped those people do that for a certain amount of
Let
time.
let's talk about that because I think the girls
Yeah.
don't get that. They don't
Yeah.
get that. And when I say girl, you know what I'm talking about. That
Hmm.
like the reason why people are doing for you is because you put them on in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't have to be
Yes.
professional. It gets to
Yep.
be like, I'm listening to you and you feel seen, right? Or like whatever that is, like you're going to have to give a little bit for people to give a lot, which I think is very, it mirrors a lot of what I teach in my programs in terms of relationships and dating, that like your job is to maybe give a, give and it shall be given unto you, right? You give
Hmm.
something, and the expectation, especially when you're navigating and working with men, is that they will give you 10 times as much. It's almost like
Yep.
tithings, right? So
Yeah.
I'm interested to understand how you think about that.
Yeah, I think of it like investing, right? If you think about an investment, ideally, someone wants to invest in the stock market. They're putting a little bit of money into the stock market today so that 10 years from now, that return compounds and they have way more money. It's the same thing with our social relationships. Like you show up for somebody today and you maintain that connection, chances are they're also going to want to show up for you tomorrow. And over time, especially when you do right by people and you like move with genuine intentions, that compounds over time. But we'll see that and we'll only see maybe somebody receiving something and just think, oh, she just gets everything, but you don't know what she invested in the relationship with that person to get there.
I love that. And I just want to add on to that, that for so many women of color, that oftentimes they think that they have to do labor to make that investment. And like, I have to work for you. And I don't necessarily think that that's true. And I would love to hear kind of what you think, because I think that's the first inclination. I'm going to work. And because that has been of value in so many other aspects of my life, that like, that's the first thing I'm going to do. And to be honest with you, that should be the last thing that you should be doing to like make these connections. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so much of it is just connecting with people on a very genuine level where there's actually not labor. You're talking to people, you're getting to know them, you're checking on them. You're interacting with them not only when you need something, but because you genuinely care who they are and how they're doing, and you build relationships that way, hopefully in a reciprocal way. And then from there, you kind of have that foundation and it moves forward from that point.
I love that. One of the things that I hear so often, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is I don't want to play the game, right? Or what have you observed as it pertains to the women that you interview and also in this concept of luck that we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, listen,
Is the
even if
game,
you
does
don't
the
want to
game
play
have
the
to be
game,
played to be
the
lucky?
yeah, even if you don't want to play the game is going to play you.
Ooh,
And so, something that I like to say a lot, I said it on my podcast, and sometimes I say it to myself when I have these moments, is like, you either need to play to win or get played.
mm. I feel
Do
like a
you
lot of the
want
girls are
to?
getting played, girl.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
And
no
I think we
shade. That's
all
no
have
shade.
moments.
I want to talk about it, right?
Yeah. And we all maybe have moments or instances when we do, but are you going to continue letting yourself get played or are you going to learn? Are
Mm,
you going to then get in the game and understand how to move a little bit? Sometimes I think in order to win, you almost need those little experiences where you get played
100%.
and you learn, oh, okay, not
Don't
again.
do
Now I
that.
now I know how it works and not again.
Don't do that. Yeah, exactly. So for those ladies that are like, "Ugh, I've never played the game before,
Hmm.
maybe I don't know how to play it. What would you say to them? Like what, obviously you talked a little bit about connecting, but how do you connect or how would you recommend people to connect to be able to have this social currency or wealth that allows people to be so lucky?
Yeah. Probably the best example I could think of that could be applicable to a lot of folks listening. I was a corporate girl for 13 years. So I was in any which kind of corporate space, big company, startup, and everything in between. And I was the definition of a personality hire. Like
Oh,
I would do my job and I would
uh-huh.
do a good enough job. But for the most part, I got really far because people liked me. But what's interesting about that is you don't necessarily have to show up like shucking and jiving to get people in a corporate space to like you. You don't even really have to divulge a whole lot of your personal business, which I was very good at not doing
Let's talk about that
because,
because I think the girls think
yes,
like I can't share anything because that they're going to use that against me
a
or
little
it might
bit.
go
You do have
against
to
my
have some
reputation.
discernment for
Yeah.
sure. Like I was creating content, podcasting, and I was doing this in 2017, 2018, when it was not as accepted now. And I couldn't go in my jobs and be talking about the stuff that I was doing. So I was very careful about what I shared, but it's all about keeping the other people talking. So I would go into my coworkers and I would keep them talking. Tell me all about your weekend. Tell me all about your kids. Tell me all about everything you've got going on. So they felt connected to me. They felt like I was a team player. It wasn't Les is standoffish and doesn't talk to anybody. but I kept them talking and I kept them sharing so that they felt heard. And they actually didn't know anything about me, but they couldn't even tell because I made them feel so heard and seen to play the
And
game.
what if I'm like, okay, girl, I can do that, but
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about them.
You don't have to.
No, let's keep it real, right? It's like, oh my God, do I really want
Yeah.
to talk about their 8-year-old soccer game? Like, what would you say to this?
I mean, I think it depends on priorities. You know what I mean? I would be willing to invest in a conversation about the 8-year-old soccer game for a few minutes if it means they're going to get off my back about bugging me about some other thing. You have to kind of decide where to place your energy. Um, but I think if maintaining that relationship is important and a little bit of chit chat about the 8-year-old soccer game is what's going to help maintain it to make something easier for you down the road, then like I think it's worth it.
I always think it's worth it. And, I think about this in dating terms as well, that there are going to be subjects that you don't really care about, but you're going to have to listen, whether you're dating someone or that you're married to someone, right? And your job is to be interested and also be interesting, right? And ask the follow-up questions. And one of the things that I always recommend for my clients is like, okay, when someone is talking, to be a really great listener, even if you don't love the subject, is allow them talking to help you visualize a picture, right? So if they're talking about the soccer game, the 8-year-old soccer game, I'm trying to develop a picture here. And so my questions are, okay, were there a lot of people there? Right? Okay, like were the parents going crazy? Like sometimes they do, right? And so I'm really trying to create a little scene or a movie in my head to stay interested so that because people vibe off energy. So if your energy is like, I don't give a fuck, even though I'm asking questions, they're gonna pick up on that. So I always
Yep.
use that as an indication of like how you can move in these sorts of conversations, dating or otherwise. What do you think about that?
No, I love that tip. Or even just like, can you find a segment of something related in there that you think is interesting? Like, I love the question about were the parents getting hype? Then it could be something funny of like, did any parents get a little too into it? Were the parents kind of like, were they drinking? Were y'all turned up? Tell me more
Yeah,
about what y'all were doing while the kids are running around. Like, find some facet in there that you think could be interesting to zero in on and, take it from there.
I love that. So what I'm hearing is luck equals connection, and connection often equals investment.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Good.
agree.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love this. For the ladies out there that are trying to come up with their own luck today, what is that one thing that you think that they should commit to doing, even this week?
I think so much of it comes around to what it is we tell ourselves. Like, are you convinced that you're somebody who good things happen to? Because if you truly believe that you're somebody who good things happen to, you start seeing that everywhere. You start
Yeah.
seeing those little synchronicities and little hints of things that are kind of working out for you. And even if it's something small, just seeing that as an affirmation of like good things work out for me. I have something in my phone. It's called a lucky log. It's like a little notes app where every time something good happens, even if it's just like somebody paid for my coffee in the line this morning, or my seat on my flight got upgraded, or like I got my favorite spot in my workout class, like anytime something good happens, I add it to this notes app as just like proof of concept that something good happens. And so I think if the girls want to be more lucky, I recommend looking at the ways that they already are lucky
Yeah.
and not taking that for granted. And from there, you begin to see all of the different opportunities for luck that you have.
I love this tip, this luck log journal. And the reason why I love it so much is because, even in relationships, as humans, we have a negativity bias, right? And like you actually have to, you counteract or you combat one negative thing with five positive things. And so the fact that you have this and you can go to it as a reference guide can help you stay in that frequency and in that mode to even accept and allow and receive more of that luck. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
How else can we be lucky, girl? That luck log was too much, girl. I can't let I know the girls would be DMing me like, I can't believe you didn't ask her more about these ways that we can get luck today. What other things do you do to stay lucky these days?
The lucky log is a good one. That's a good quick on the go one. Another one that I really love, and I've talked about it a lot kind of on my podcast, and I know I made the joke earlier about journaling, but if you have a hard time journaling, the prompt I'm about to give you will help you do it.
All right, girl.
It's a, it's a
You
practice
building it
that
up now. Don't
I'm selling
disappoint.
it. I'm selling it really hard, but it works. It's a practice that I call best case scenario journaling.
Okay.
So what I like to do is in the mornings before I do anything else in the day, I will sit down and I will write out how I want the day to go. And this is especially helpful on days where it's like, I know I have a lot on my plate. I know that I'm kind of overwhelmed, or maybe there's something that's stressing me out or kind of nagging at me. I will write out the scenario as if it already happened, assuming the best case scenario, assuming that like the thing that I'm stressed out about, what would be the ideal resolution? How would I want to handle it? What do I want to have happen? And I will write that out in the morning in as much detail as I can think of, just to kind of help me calm down and set the tone for the rest of the day. And similar to what we were just saying, like I love the Blue Mazda example, because you're starting the day off writing in the journal about the, let's say, Blue Mazda you want to see, it really primes your brain to start seeing those opportunities for the best case scenario. And it doesn't mean that like your day is going to be exactly how you wrote it in the journal that morning, but it does mean that you're doing a little bit of work to counteract that negativity bias first thing to give you a little bit of a best case scenario bias. And so if you get those thoughts out in the morning, you write about that best case scenario, how you want things to be, and then you decide to move through your day as if you have experienced that best case scenario, it is such a helpful practice.
I love that. Best case scenario journaling.
Hmm.
Another luck tip. Um,
Yes.
for the for the ladies that are just don't feel like life is giving right now. And it's just like really hard to even get into that space of luck and all of that. When the season is survival
Yeah.
and not thriving, what do you have to say?
I actually think that those seasons are really important. They're incredibly difficult, but I do think that they're really important because they can be an important time for preparation. And there are even some elements of my life right now that kind of feel that way. Like from a business perspective, I have a lot of things going on behind the scenes that
Yeah.
are a little stressful that have not come to fruition yet. But I'm like, okay, this is a season where I'm really supposed to get my ducks in order, where I'm really supposed to get my things together so that when I do get to that point of feeling good and thriving again, I feel really prepared. That time when my luck is down, what am I doing to be ready for it to come back up? That time where I'm maybe money's a little bit funny, what am I doing? What habits am I improving so that when I do get some money, I know exactly what to do with it. Really seeing that as a season of preparation because everybody has seasons of ups and downs. Nothing
Yeah.
stays up forever and nothing stays down forever. And so being ready for that next season and preparing yourself for what's to come, even if it's still staying in survival, being in survival mode can be okay, but like being ready for whatever's next, I think is incredibly important and really seeing that as a time for preparation.
100%. One of the things that I've noticed in my, I'm not going to say my age, but is that a lot of chaos can be happening outside. And if you have this internal knowingness or centeredness, that's actually all that you need. Like, we're all pretty smart individuals. Like, we'll be able to find solutions to keep on going, to keep the lights on, to do all of that. But like, this internal clock of like, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm okay is important. And the reason I say that and how this relates to luck, at least this is what I've seen in my own life, is like in my life, what I've seen is that things shift based on my internal compass and centeredness like 6 months. So if I was acting a fool, if I lost myself last summer, but I truly see a lot of that outside 3 to 6 months in the future. Like I see a lot of crazy shit happening that doesn't necessarily happen versus the building can be on fire today, but I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm gonna get some water. And I'm, girl, 6 months from now, thriving. Girl,
Hmm.
opportunities at the wazoo. Have you experienced that, or am I just
Oh,
acting a damn fool and crazy?
no, you're not. It's true. It's incredibly true. Even a version of that I think about, like as a content creator, I think about the work that I do today is what I'm going to be either like celebrated for, getting paid for, whatever, a month or two from now. Like, and so you always kind of have to be thinking where I'm at right now is setting the foundation for how I'm going to feel tomorrow. I think there's so much truth to that.
Yeah, I love that. And that's, I'm bringing this up because I think it's important when you're in survival mode that like this is the moment where you have to get really clear within yourself if you're going to create that luck in the future, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, you can get down on what's happening outside of you and totally valid, but and right, know that if your shit internally is not where it needs to be, it's probably going to continue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
mean, earlier we were talking about, traits that I often saw in the successful women that I interviewed and that I studied. And I do think something that a lot of very successful people have in common is this idea of having a high bounce back rate. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is like how resilient are you? How well are you able to bounce back from a setback? Everybody has setbacks. Everybody has something happen that like knocks them down, that they grieve, that they you absolutely have to give yourself space to feel whatever it is, the difficulty, the challenge, the grief, to feel it. And your ability to bounce back from that is going to make all the difference in how you move forward. So when you get knocked down, do you allow yourself to feel it, take in the support, get it together, and then take the next step? Or do you let it keep you down for like an extended amount of time? And if you do, you're human, it's okay. But what can you do to make that bounce back rate just a little bit better? And then just a
Yeah.
little bit better each time you experience something.
I love that you're bringing this up because in my program we call that like your rebound rate or like how do you
Mm-hmm.
rebound, right?
Yep.
And one of the things I was talking to one of my coaches yesterday and she was like kind of in shock that like the ladies rebound so well when like the relationship doesn't work out or the guy that you've been dating for 2 months just disappears. And one of the things that we try to do in my program is have a really clear sense of like self and what you can control and what you can't control, which I think is just like really important as like understanding that first and foremost, is this something that was controllable or not? And using factual evidence around this. And then two, making sure that when you say feel it, and I want to get your thoughts on it too, because I think a lot of people don't understand what feel it means because they don't feel in general every day. That for me, the feeling is one of the ways that I try to help my clients do this is by having them verbalize this. Verbalize what has happened, even if it's to yourself or in a mirror, and then also verbalizing how you are feeling. So it's like, this guy, like, I was talking to him for 3 months and he didn't, I haven't heard from him and it makes me feel really sad. I have this for those that are just listening in
Mm,
audio. I'm showing my emotion wheel.
yeah.
It makes me feel really sad and I'm actually really mad and furious about this. Like, verbalizing the feelings as well will help kind of allow your body to feel the feelings. And the reason why I'm saying this and why it works really well for so many of my clients is because um, oftentimes when you are of color, but specifically Black, like you're not, many of us are not taught to feel. Like, and it's not acceptable and it's not
Mm-hmm.
okay. And so
Yeah.
you saying it almost gives your body the permission to feel it,
Yep.
which I think is really important. And so I just wanted
Yeah.
to share that, but I would love to hear kind of how you rebound and also how you allow yourself to feel.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that you just said that's really great that I would love to piggyback on. Specifically as Black women, I think our feelings often get weaponized against us, you know.
True
We
story.
we feel or express anything, then all of a sudden it's we're angry, we're this, we're that. And sometimes I think we can be tempted to like not feel and not express to protect ourselves from those labels. And I think allowing ourselves to still feel and to express how we're feeling is a really important act of resistance against that, I think. So that's why I
Yeah.
think it's really important. And I also think that's the important distinction between what we're talking about and toxic positivity, because toxic positivity is like, well, everything will be great. Don't feel whatever. And it's like, no, you can be hurt, you can be disappointed, you can be pissed off. It's okay to feel that, to verbalize that, to communicate that in a healthy way, however that looks for you. And it's something that I've gotten a lot better at as I've gotten older, and that's really what therapy has helped me with over the past couple of years. I was working with a therapist who specialized in somatic practices, and so she was constantly on me of, okay, you're good at describing things, but where do you feel it in your body, so that I could begin to release things, because sometimes we will hold these things in and we're just carrying it and feeling it forever. And so these days, a lot of what like expressing those feelings looks like for me is, yes, verbalizing it, being able to speak up for myself, having better boundaries was something that I really struggled with, and I'm getting a lot better about enforcing in the moment. But also when I'm in touch with myself, being like, where do I feel that in my body? Okay, that happened. And now my chest is a little bit tight. Let me like take some deep breaths and address that. Or I had this thing that didn't happen and now my shoulders are like up here. So let me do what I need to do to like decompress and get that out of my body. And that's been incredibly helpful for me.
I love that. You said that you're oftentimes it shows up in your chest. For me, it's my
Mm-hmm.
stomach.
Mm.
Anytime my stomach's doing flips, girl, I already know. So I gotta talk about something. Yeah.
Yes.
Stomach feelings, stress, back. So I was
Mm-hmm.
telling you before the podcast, my back is a little tight. I'm doing a rewrite for my book. I'm a little stressed about that, but that's where it lives. And I think it's important to understand where your specific feelings live so that you can have an accurate depiction of what you're feeling, but also what you need to do to feel through that. I love that so much.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
Anywhere else where you're feeling your feelings, or is it mostly just chest?
For me, a lot of it's my chest, shoulders, and then when I was younger, I used to get really bad headaches that were really unexplained. And I think a lot of that also had to do with me just like holding things in and not expressing myself. And now that I'm a little bit older and I'm much more aware, I hardly get headaches at all anymore. But that's another place that it would happen.
Interesting. I'm always
Hmm.
so fascinated by all of this. It's been beautiful. I love this conversation so much. It's so interesting to me. I'm so glad that we've been able to have it. For the ladies out there, for the girls out there that want to learn, want to engage and interact with you more, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, Anwar, thank you so much for having me. I loved this conversation. For the girls who want to keep in touch with me, so you can listen to She's So Lucky every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple, Spotify, do full video episodes on YouTube if you're more visual. I got you. And then you can also catch up with me on Instagram at Les Alfred.
I love it. I love it so much. Girl, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. All right, ladies, I want to hear from you all. Please DM me, email. Let us know, how are you going to be lucky today and for 2026? And with that said, I will talk with you later. Bye bye.